The following is a Simpronto media production.
Leaders, real life leaders.
Hey there. Hey guys. So excited you're with us today. We are doing our real life leadership podcast live. And this podcast is where we share real life stories with real life leaders to help you become a better leader. And today we're talking all about the $349 billion CARES Act and all the details. Today, I'm here with my co-host, Heather Remick, and she has literally been on call after call. She spent time with all the top dogs and has done massive amounts of research on the small business relief that is coming from the CARES Act. And so today we're going to be talking about that. She's going to share a bunch of her wisdom with us. And so if you are a small business looking for help during this time, please listen in. So as we get started, let me first start by saying this. This information is changing hourly. So what we're going to tell you right now may be different by this afternoon, but as of right now, everything we're going to share is going to be accurate as of what we know right now, and it may help protect your business so that you can make sure that you are trying to stay open during this time and be able to make it through. So first of all, for people who aren't familiar with it, let's tell people, what is the PPP program, Heather?
Okay, so first off, this is all the information that I've kind of gathered. I'm not a certified CPA. I'm not a certified financial planner. I'm not an SBA approved lender. This is just the information that I've gotten from the SBA.gov website, and they just updated stuff this morning. So I have literally been researching it, reading it line by line. So that's what I'm going to tell you. So the PPP program is the Paycheck Protection Program. And there's several different levels of assistance that the government's providing to small businesses through this CARES Act. This is just one of them. So with most of them, from what I'm kind of understanding, and we're still getting some mixed messaging on this, is that you can just use one of these types of assistance. So as I talk about them, again, you need to reach out to your commercial banker, your CPA, and see which one is going to be best for you if you qualify. So there's the EIDL, which is the Economic Injury Disaster Loan. That's available. You can actually apply for that right now. They've already opened applications for that. And that's where you can get, that's a loan. And that's where they're also offering an advance on that of up to $10,000 that you can get within 3 days of your application being approved. So, but only the advance in that, so far from what we understand, is forgivable. You wouldn't have to pay the advance back, but the rest of whatever you can do is a loan. And that's you can take a loan up to $10 million. And that's, of course, obviously based on what you would need as a business and what's et cetera. So that's one that would have to be repaid unless, in the foreseeable future, Congress passes some act that forgives it. But for right now, that one is a loan, and only that initial $10,000, up to $10,000 if you got the advance, is the forgivable part. But what we're going to kind of talk about right now is this PPP, the Paycheck Protection Program. That one is, again, that's the one piece of funding from the government that can be forgiven. And they're saying that all over the SBA's.gov's website, is that it can be forgiven if you meet certain criteria. So basically, the government is giving small businesses money to help cover payroll and some basic needs expenses for 8 weeks to help keep their employees employed while a lot of these people are, a lot of America's under a stay-at-home order right now. So this is helping give businesses money to continue to run their businesses even when they're doing it remotely.
Okay, so let's break it down for everyone, and let's just go step by step.
Yep.
First, who can apply for this loan?
Yes. So anyone who has a small business of 500 employees or less can apply for this. So this is specifically for small businesses out there. This includes your full-time, part-time, and any other status employees you have. Now, there are some exceptions, like in the hotel and food services industries, or if you have a franchise, there's a few others. So if you fall into an exception category, go check that out on the website. But this applies to all businesses who have less than 500 people. That's including nonprofits, veteran organizations, tribal business concerns, sole proprietorships, self-employed individuals. So yes, you real estate agents out there and other people who are self-employed, independent contractors. This can apply to you. So there's a lot of people that this can actually help.
All right, fantastic. So now let's talk about how do you know? Well, before we do that, because let's say we have let's say there's a real estate agent out there and they say, okay, but I never went and actually got my business application. So they're still doing business as an individual. They never went in and got their business license.
Right.
What do you think about that?
That's where I would reach out to your commercial banker. It does say independent contractors, and it doesn't specify that they had to have been a corporation. So I'm not 100% sure, but the language in the documentation that they gave out today, and even I got a sample application form, it does say you can put your social security number on there. So it's saying independent contractors. Obviously, you get business, if you apply it to be a business, you can still do that. And you obviously get some tax breaks for that if we weren't in a crazy crisis right now. But it does say independent contractor. So I'd reach out to whoever you bank with for your commercial banking and see if you might apply for this, even if you forgot and never got licensed or formed an LLC or a corporation.
Okay, perfect.
Yep.
Awesome. So now let's talk a little bit about how do you know how much you can apply for?
Yeah. So basically what it is this program specifically is designed to cover 2 months of your payroll. So the way you can determine how much you can apply for is, like I saw in the sample application this morning, it literally asks you 3 questions. What's your average monthly payroll last year? And it gives you 25% extra. So the formula is this: you take your total payroll for like the last 12 months, divided by 12 to get your average monthly amount, and then you multiply it by 2.5. And this is the max that you can apply for. Now there's a cap of $10 million, which there may be some small businesses out there that have that much in a 2.5 month payroll, but that's the max. And if you have employees that make over $100,000, you can only claim their first $100,000. You can still claim them, but you can't claim anything above the $100,000 in your calculations. So if you do that, take your last 12 months payroll, take out the few exceptions, times it by divided by 12, and then times it by 2.5, that's a good estimate of what you can expect if you're approved for this PPP.
Okay, so let's just do a practical example.
Okay.
So let's say that someone has $10,000 per month.
Okay.
They're paying in payroll per month.
Mm-hmm.
Then what are they going to expect to be able to apply for?
Yep. So it's going to be $25,000. So they do 10,000 times 2.5. That's 25,000. Okay.
So now that they've said, what is approved for payroll costs, like when they're doing, is there anything else besides payroll? Well, first of all, let's talk about someone who is an independent contractor.
Right.
So how would that work for them?
Yeah, again, you'd want to reach out to see exactly how it will work for you. Reach out to your commercial lender, your CPA. They'll be able to help you. My assumption, and it's only an assumption, so don't take this for the word, is that you would take what you made over the last 12 months, you divide it by 12 and times it by 2.5. So, and again, it caps at 100,000. So if you made 150,000, you can only say 100,000 divided by 12 times 2.5, and that would be what I would assume you're eligible to apply for. Again, it doesn't specifically state it in here in the documentation. Again, this is just getting released like minute by minute. So I have more information this morning than I did yesterday. So that is what I would assume. But again, I'd reach out to your CPA or your commercial banker to do it, but that's what I'd guess it would be.
So are we counting just like the salary, the wages, and the commission? Or are we also adding the employee benefits, the 401k, the state and local taxes? Talk about that.
Yeah. So from the information that I've looked at on the SBA and the printouts that I have, is that payroll costs include the following things. So it includes salary, wages, commission, or tips. And again, it's capped at $100,000 for each employee. So if they made over 100, you can only do up to 100. It includes employee benefits, which include like the cost you paid out for paid time off for vacation, parental or family leave, like medical or sick leave. If you paid that out to someone, you get to include that in your cost. Allowance for dismissal or separation. So like if you gave a severance, that would count in your payroll cost. And then payments that are required for like your group healthcare benefits, including insurance premiums, payments of any retirement benefit, like if you give 401k contributions, that gets to get included. It says that it includes state and local taxes assessed on the compensation. And for the sole proprietor and independent contractors, you would be calculating your wages, commissions, income, or net earnings from self-employment, again, capped at the $100,000 on the annualized basis for each of your employees.
Okay, so once you get approved for the loan, then what can you use the loan for? And again, when we say loan, you're saying that this is, even though it's considered a loan, it's completely forgivable. You're not going to be able to pay it back? Or do you want to talk about that later?
We're going to talk about that next. Okay. So it is technically a loan. There's a way you can get it forgiven, but this is what, and if you want to get it forgiven, you're going to want to use the loan for these pretty much four things. One is your payroll cost. So it's called the payment, now it's like, I've said this thing like 100 times. It's the Paycheck Protection Program. So it's really made for paychecks. So what you're going to want to use it for is payroll costs, including your benefits, interest and mortgage obligations. So this would be like if you own the building that your small business works in, you can use some of it for the interest that you pay on your mortgage, not the principal, but your interest that you incurred before the 15th of February. Rent, so if you rent the building that your small business is in, rent under the lease agreements. Utilities, so any utilities, as long as you've had it since before the 15th of February, all of those can count in what you can use the loan for.
Hey guys, I want to take a minute real quick to tell you about this retreat that I'm putting together. It's going to be just 10 lucky people that I'm going to select, and we are going to stay in a 5-star resort in Miami, and it's going to be pamper time. But the most important thing, I'm going to open up my books. I'm going to show you everything. You're going to leave there with my Word docs. You're going to leave with a USB drive with all the information that I've possibly done, every system in place. A lot of times you go to these conferences, you get all jazzed up, but you don't walk away with anything. You're going to walk away with this retreat with tons of systems. Go to chantelray.com/retreat to learn more.
Calling all entrepreneurs, leaders, and business owners. Are you looking to grow and scale your business to help more people, increase your profits, and build the business of your dreams? Then you need to attend the Grow and Scale Now Summit, a free virtual event where you can learn from top leaders and thinkers who have grown and scaled their businesses by the millions. Unlock your potential and discover the secrets to take your business to the next level. Click the link in the show notes to claim your free ticket.
Awesome. So now let's talk about forgiveness of the loan, because that's, there's people out there that might say, well, number one, I'm fine right now. I don't really need it. I don't want to take a loan, but if it's going to be forgiven and I can get the money for free, then I might as well take it. So, because that is the really awesome part about this plan, that there's the opportunity to keep your business open without having to pay back the money. What do business owners need to do to make sure that this is forgiven, or as much as possible is forgiven?
Yeah, so it's still a little muddy, but I'm going to tell you what I've kind of learned, what it says so far. So let's first talk about the actual loan if it were not forgiven. So it's a 2-year loan. So the total amount is due back whatever you take out within 2 years of your application date. The interest rate on this is 0.5%. So that's 0.5%, not 5%, gang. Right. Yes, 0.5%. That's the interest rate. Your first payment's deferred for 6 months. So however the interest will accrue during those first 6 months, but you don't have to pay a payment for 6 months. It's 100% guaranteed by the SBA. There's no prepayment penalty. So if you took this and then you didn't need it all and you wanted to pay it right back, there's no consequence. You don't have to pay a prepayment penalty for that. There's no collateral due, no personal guarantees, no borrower or lender fees paid to the SBA. So these commercial bankers that are going to be doing these loans, they're doing it because they value your business. Like, they're not making money off of this. This is solely to help small businesses survive during this time. And let me say this, like, on the application, there's it's 4 pages, the sample one. I'm sure it'll change by the time the real one comes out. But 2 pages are just getting information. The other 2 pages are talking about, like, making sure you're not using it for fraudulent items and, et cetera, et cetera. So now let's talk about the forgiveness of the loan. So if you use any of the money for anything other than the payroll cost, that mortgage interest, rent, or utilities over the 8 weeks after getting the loan, then you'll owe the money back when the loan's due. So, like, you wouldn't get it forgiven. So basically, once you get the loan, you have to use that money for those items over the next. And let me say this, like, on the application, there's
Sorry, Heather. Go ahead.
Okay.
I was trying to check to see if we have any questions at all.
Okay. So that's you have to use it over those 8 weeks for that particular purpose. Like it's literally to help pay for those items. So with that being said, if you use more than 25% of the loan for non-payroll costs, then it's likely that loan won't be forgiven. So they want you using 75% of it more for the employees, not for utilities or rent. So let me say that again. 75% of the money that you're given, they want used for payroll or more. They're allowing 25% or less to be used for that utilities, the mortgage interest, or rent in order for it to be forgiven. If you use more than 25% of it for mortgage, rent, or utilities of the buildings that your business is operating out of, then it likely won't be 100% forgiven. You'll also owe money and not have the whole amount forgiven if you don't maintain your staff or payroll. So what this means is they're doing this so you don't have to lay people off. They're trying to help push money into these small businesses to help them survive during this time and not have to lay people off. So they ask on the application, like, how many staff do you currently have? And then when you go to actually apply for the forgiveness, they're going to ask how many you currently have. And so they want, if you have to reduce your employee count or their salaries then by a certain percentage, then your forgiveness would be reduced by that amount. So they want you to keep the same amount of staff. And then if you decrease salaries or wages, like say you have to bring someone's salary down because you just don't have enough to pay them, if you do it for more than 25% for any employee, less than 100,000, then your forgiveness would be reduced by that amount from what it says. Now, with that being said, you have until June 30th to restore like full employee headcount or salary levels that you made between the 15th of February and the 26th of April. So you have some time to kind of get people back employed, rehired, hire new, or increase their salaries back up. So basically, in the summary of all of that, what it looks like is in order to get full forgiveness, from the way that I understood it, is you have to keep 100% of your job staffed and 100% of their salary. If you reduce either of those and don't bring it back to the 100% by the deadline, you'll have your forgiveness decreased by that percentage loss, and that amount would be owed.
So let's say that someone had 10 employees and then they had already let go of 2. Mm-hmm. Let's play out a few of those scenarios of what that looks like.
So from what I understand, from what I read, basically, if you had 10 and you had let go of 2, you have until June 30th to replace the 2
of those people
with the money that you're given in order to be able to have 100% of it eligible to be forgiven. And you still have to apply for that.
And then it doesn't mean you're not going to get all of it forgiven.
Right.
You're going to get decreased. So let's say you borrowed 100,000, maybe you kept 90% of your employees, 10% you got rid of, maybe then 90% of it would be forgiven.
Maybe. And that's where
we don't know that amount yet, but we're just kind of estimating. It's just going to be decreased by a percentage of that.
Correct. I would assume that's how it would go, but I'm not 100% sure yet.
So, all right, let's talk about how do businesses apply for the forgiveness?
Yeah. So from what I understand is you'll submit a request to the lender. So after the 8 weeks, the lender that's servicing your loan, so whoever your commercial banker is that you go to get the loan through, you'll have to make the request to them. So then they're most likely going to require documents that either verify the number of like full-time employees, their pay rates to make sure they're the same, as well as what you used the money for. So you're going to make basically like application for forgiveness. You're going to give it to them. They're going to tell you what's required. And I'm sure they're going to ask for all of the documentation of what I said you're going to need. So headcount, salaries, and what you used the money to pay. And then once you apply for that, the lender has to give you a decision within 60 days if they're going to forgive that loan or if there's going to be a decrease in the forgiveness or no forgiveness at all. So that's how you'll go back to the lender you applied for that's servicing your loan, and they're going to determine whether or not if all or some of it gets forgiven.
Okay, now let's talk about where people apply and we've got 2 different things. We're talking about either the PPP, the Paycheck Protection Program.
Yeah.
When and where do you apply for that? And then the EIDL loan, which is the Economic Injury Disaster Loan, where do you apply for that one? And then I want to make sure that we clarify. And from what I understand, you can do one or the other, but you can't do both. Is that what you understand?
That's what I understand. It says in here, it specifically asks how many loans can I take out under this program, and it says only one. So it's what it looks like. I don't know. I heard otherwise talk of it today that you might be able to do both, but I'm not 100% sure. Again, I'm just looking at based on what I got off the SBA website. The EIDL you can apply for right now. So you go to the SBA website and you apply, and it's a real quick application. I've heard people say they finished it in 10 minutes or less. That's the actual loan for separate, like different. It's not the Paycheck Protection Program. So you can apply for that right now. You can go to sba.gov and apply. It'll ask you questions. I haven't done the application, but I know it's live right now and you can go and apply for it. As of right now for the PPP, they're not, as of the moment I'm recording this right now, we're being told that it'll be available through your commercial banker to start applications on Friday the 3rd, April 3rd. This is when small businesses and sole proprietorships can apply for the loans to cover their payroll and those expenses we talked about through existing SBA lenders. So whoever you go to for your commercial banker, you need to make sure they're an SBA approved lender. Starting on April 10th, independent contractors and self-employed individuals can apply and for the same thing. So right now, only SBA approved commercial banker lenders are available to offer this. So check and see if yours is one. You can call them and ask them, or you can go to sba.gov and there's a list of approved SBA lenders on there and make sure. Now they're adding them as they come in, as they apply and get approved. They're adding more on there. So yeah, but I would say most big banks I'm sure are on there. I know we've talked to a couple and they're good.
All right. So what else that we've forgotten that we need to tell people about?
Yeah, so to prepare for your application, like I said, I saw this first sample application this morning. It's real short. It's just making you say that you're going to use these funds for the intended purpose and what's your average monthly payroll, the purpose of the loan, a few questions to answer about how you own the business, et cetera. And just saying, making sure what you say matches your 2019 taxes so they can verify the amount you're giving. It's true. You have until June 30th to apply. The applications will be up until then, but I want to tell you there's only $319 billion available. So it will run out, believe it or not. There's a lot of small businesses that need this. So apply sooner rather than later, because once the funds are gone, they won't have any unless they approve more money. It's a really great program that's helping a lot of people. So it's an ever-changing situation. Like it could be changing right now while I'm recording this. So make sure you just go to sba.gov and you can find all the most updated information. They put more information on overnight to help you through this process. So yeah,
this is a really great program, and hopefully it will help many small businesses who are struggling to stay open during this time to make it over the hump. I do want to check to see if we have any questions at all. Here's one that I see. It says, so I own a handyman service. I am my only employee, and my business is run from my home office. I would just apply for myself and pay myself 75% and the rest towards bills. Just want to make sure I understand that correctly. What do you think about that?
So I would definitely go to whoever you do your business banking through. So you obviously have I'm sure a business license, and you run your business through a certain banking. So I would go to them and they'll be able to guide you through the process. It's more
muddy. The problem is if you're an independent contractor, or if you just work for yourself and you don't I think that they've made it pretty clear. If you have a business, you have employees, it's pretty clear on what they're saying they're going to do. What's not clear is you own your own business. You're your only employee. You run your business from your home office. Now what? That's very muddy. And no one can give you the straight answer. There's no one who's going to be able to give you the straight answer on that because they haven't said. Would you agree, Heather?
Right. Yeah. And that's why I would really recommend, I'm only telling you the information that I've gotten from the SBA and all the research that I've done. I would 100% recommend you just calling your commercial banker or your CPA, and they can definitely guide you through the process as they're certified in this. We're just trying to get the information out to tell you guys to go to your commercial bankers, to go to sba.gov, and to go to your CPAs and find out information if this might be able to help your small business.
All right, we have another question. Do you have to pay interest on the part that is not forgiven?
Yes.
Yes.
I think that's pretty clear.
That's 100% clear.
Yeah, I would think that's pretty clear in the, if you go to sba.gov, it pretty much addresses that.
All right. Do you see any other questions?
I don't see any others. I think that's it.
All right. Well, if you write them on there, maybe we can do another updated one because like, as we said, this is ever changing. And so we can definitely keep you posted on things that come up as it changes. But Heather, thanks for doing so much research on this and just being an absolute wizard on this.
Absolutely.
You have done a great job and I really appreciate it. And if you guys have any more questions, please feel free to let us know and we'd love to help you and share on this. Be safe and we'll see you next time. Bye-bye for now.
Thanks for listening to this episode of Real Life Leadership. If you'd like to get the show notes or access more resources, log on to reallifeleaders.com/podcast to get the show notes from this episode and any other resources we might have mentioned. And also, we'd love to hear from you. Be sure to review or rate this podcast on Apple Podcasts to help spread the word. And if you have any leadership questions you want answered, email podcast@reallifeleaders.com.